Welcome back to My Hero, My Life. Specifically, what if Asta and Deku were brothers? We're now on part 5. If you haven't watched the previous parts, check out the playlist in the corner. Last we left off, Izuku and Asta were accepted by UA despite not getting any points in the entrance exam. They ran home and told their mother. Sometime later, they would find themselves attending their first day at UA. That day begins with some students trying to introduce themselves to others. While some are unreceptive, the Midoriya brothers are eager to meet their classmates. Their displays of heroism and nearly inhuman strength make them the talk of the class. Bakugo fumes over this. He never approached the two of them about getting into the school, like he did in canon. Before the class can get fully acquainted, their new teacher arrives all wrapped in a sleeping bag. Unzipping himself, Aizawa shakes things up by dropping the harsh reality of the school curriculum. A course made harder by the fact that the teacher would cut the lowest scoring students on the very first day. Thus begins the Quirk Apprehension Test. The students all score the same, save the twins. As Izuku has been training for years, he's almost as fit as his younger brother. Both complete the 50-meter sprint in under 5.5 seconds. Next comes the grip strength test. Izuku grabs the device and measures 70 kilograms, a whole 14 more than in canon. His younger brother's score was even higher, coming in at 80 kilograms. Neither of the Midoriya brothers is worried about their ranking till the standing long jump. Asta uses his sword to pole vault himself past the sandbox, but Izuku has not yet used One for All. Unsure of his ability to use the new quirk, he holds off and is unable to clear the jump. Carrying that into the next one, the repeated sidesteps, he still does fine, as does his brother. This was the only test where Minoru Mineta does well. Next up, the baseball throw. The younger of the two tosses the ball up and pulls out his sword. He slaps the ball with a giant metal weapon as if he were using a metal bat. The ball soars through the air, landing 150 meters away. Determined not to fail this test, Izuku steps up and decides to use his new quirk. Since he did not use it before, the teacher makes no attempt to stop him. He pulls his arm back and concentrates. Energy flows into it, and he launches the ball into the sky. The little white orb disappears as pain rips through him. Aizawa walks over to look at the boy's broken limb and comments, "A power that destroys the user will be of no use to those in need of being rescued." The teacher tries to call in Recovery Girl, but the older Midoriya insists on finishing the rest of the day as is, determined to prove that he isn't useless. Despite the pain, he places higher than many of his classmates on the other 3 tests. That said, his younger brother does even better. By the end of the Quirk Apprehension Test, Asta ranks 5th, right behind Tenya Ida. His older brother lags a little bit behind, in 8th place, just before Ojiro, but after Shoji. As Minoru Mineta only rated high in one of the tests, he falls in last place. Aizawa announces the rankings and tells Mineta that he won't be allowed back in class tomorrow. The boy pleads with the teacher to no avail, before grumbling and leaving. Class is dismissed and the teacher leaves, taking Izuku with him to the nurse's office. Asta follows his brother. Recovery Girl takes care of the broken arm, but warns him that he needs to find ways to use his power without destroying himself. Izuku explains that his quirk came in late, and he has only recently started to use it. Aizawa comments that the boy must learn to control it, and leaves. After a short rest, Izuku and Asta head out of the nurse's office. They find All Might waiting for them. He takes the boys off to the side. The number 1 hero speaks to Izuku specifically. "Since you have been training your body for so long, I figured you'd be able to handle the power. It seems to be too much." Fear creeps into Izuku's eyes as his mind races. Should he have held off on using One for All? Well, it always hurts so much to use it. Is he going to lose his quirk after just getting it? Seeing his older brother's face, Asta slaps his back and tells him that he'll get the hang of it soon. All Might's tone changes. "For me, I could use this quirk as soon as I got it with no trouble at all. You might need a way to visualize containing the power. Think of it like an egg in a microwave. When you heat the egg, you want to cook it, but you don't want to cook it so long that the egg explodes." Asta says something about not understanding, but Izuku seems to take the advice well. The older Midoriya smiles and thanks All Might. Both boys head home to do their training routine, though the older one is a little preoccupied with the analogy that his predecessor gave him. The next day, Class 1A has their first class with All Might, the Battle Trial. Explaining that the trial is designed to simulate 2 heroes that have never worked together pairing up out in the field, the teacher has the class draw lots to split them into pairs. These pairs are the same as canon, except that Asta replaces Mineta. During Izuku's battle trial, much is the same. Bakugo focuses on the older Midoriya, and Ichaku sneaks away. The two childhood friends fight it out, with Izuku dodging the attacks and striking back. Bakugo leaps at the other boy and roars, "You've been hiding your quirk this whole time, Deku? Well, I'm gonna make you use it!" Izuku sidesteps the attack, grabs Bakugo's arm, and throws him to the ground. Looking down on the explosive kid, he replies, "I used to hate when you called me that, but I think I'll take it as my hero name. Maybe it won't sound so dumb when everyone's saying it." The two continue to battle it out as Ochako tries to sneak up on Ida. Taking the role to heart, the other pretend villain plays the part. He moves the payload out of the way when she makes herself weightless and floats at it. Below them, Bakugo explains the purpose of his gauntlets. Grabbing the pin, Katsuki prepares to pull it. Izuku rushes forward and kicks Bakugo's hand. He whispers to Ochako in the microtransceiver. The blast flies upward, tearing loose one of the pillars. Ochako reaches for the pillar. She uses it to smack some debris at Tenya. With Ida distracted, Uraraka leaps forward and touches the fake bomb. When the two teams return to the room with the rest of the class, many of them greet Deku and comment on how he kept his cool. They talk about how surprised they are that he could defeat Bakugo without even using his quirk. In the back, the other boy fumes. Later that day, Asta complains to Momo about having to be the villains. She reminds her partner that this exercise is still a valuable experience in the way to becoming a hero. The younger Midoriya nods and prepares to play the part. He carries the false nuclear weapon down into the basement of the building. Yaoyorozu wanders around the upper floors setting up traps. A few minutes later, Kaminari and Kyoka enter the building. On the second floor, Momo pulls out a pole from her stomach and smacks it against the wall. She repeats this action. Below her, Kyoka sticks the jack on her earlobe into the wall. Denki asks if she can hear their targets. Jiro nods and points to the floor above. The two of them comb the first floor, looking for stairs. Encountering the first trap, they're knocked back by a variation of a log trap. A soft cylinder swings down and drags one of them into a net of capture tape. Jiro rolls out of the way. She moves a bit further down the hall and finds the stairs. Jacking into the wall again, the girl hears the same sound above. She decides to head down the stairs. In the basement, Asta waits and grows bored. He pokes the payload with his sword a few times to curb the feeling. A few moments later, he stomps around and calls out for any of the heroes to come his way. Unbeknownst to him, Jiro is sneaking towards the thing that he should be protecting. She gets close and reaches for it. Just before her fingers can touch it, the giant sword flashes in front of her face. Leaping back, Kyoka complains that she could have been hurt. Asta sneers, making a comment about having total control of his weapon, and swings the sword around him. The girl plugs her jack into her boot. Sound flies toward the boy. He shoves his sword into the ground to steady himself. Jiro reaches for the payload, thinking that she just has to touch it. Asta flips over the sword, using his weight and momentum to rip it up from the ground. The boy's feet hit the floor and the sword comes down. His muscles bulge as he slows the blade. It barely touches the girl's arm, but the sound from her boots stop. Rushing forward, Asta pulls out the capture tape. Kyoka stands and sidesteps him. With her own tape in hand, she wraps it around the kid. Then she reaches out and touches the counterfeit explosive. The boy breaks out of the tape yelling, "I can't believe it!" Thinking that he'll keep fighting after the trial is over, Jiro prepares herself. But the younger Midoriya stops in front of her and keeps speaking. "That was awesome! I thought we had won the moment I touched you with my sword, but I really shouldn't be surprised, since my brother..." The boy pauses as he realizes he almost gave away the older twin's secret. Kyoka asks what he was going to say, but All Might appears. He congratulates the girl on not losing her cool after temporarily losing her quirk. Then the number one hero leads them up and calls for Momo to join them. And that brings us to the end of part 5. Thank you all for watching this series. Since I know you enjoyed it, give the video a like, subscribe and hit the bell so that you never miss a thing. Now for a Monster Link update. The website has been quiet for a little bit, but that's because we've been hard at work. The artist has been working on the first 8 pages of Chapter 1, drawing and redrawing to make it the best that it can be. We've written Chapter 2 again, and have begun to rewrite Chapter 3. Our goal now is to release Chapter 1 all in one go on the new Manga Plus Creators platform. We hope to win their monthly contest. So if you haven't, check out that platform. We'll let you know when we release.